Hey y'all.
Hey,
So you're probably wondering, why is
what's
there a
that?
sock?
What's that?
It's our mic, it's our pop filter because our
Ours
pop
is in the
filter is in the
mail.
mail. So
Don't
we
have it
use a
yet.
sock. Fun fact, if you have a microphone
Good
and no pop
DIY.
filter, just DIY an ankle sock. And it works
It does. You
pretty
just like
decently.
fold it into itself and plop it
Yeah.
on. As
Basically
you can
it's a
see,
it's a microphone condom.
this
It's a sock.
this is Tyler's sock.
It is my sock. It's clean.
So this is part 2
Yes.
of our year in review,
I have shaved
2018.
since last time.
Yes, he has
I
no
look like a
facial hair,
child.
and it's so weird
Sorry.
because he always has a beard, and now he's like. Although you do have like a 5 o'clock shadow, and in the video you can see like right here, it's like
not well though.
not well, but naked face.
Yeah, so this is part 2 of our year in review series, where each episode we review 10 episodes that of 2018, and I think our last episode is going to wind up being 11.
Yeah, I think so.
Something like that.
I don't know how many we did. A lot.
Something like that. If you can't tell, we already had one. Mine's empty. Brittany's is not.
I still have some.
But so I think let's just jump into this.
Let's jump right in.
So we're going to jump in with episode 11.
Episode 11
was I Will Survive.
That was our first Survivor episode.
It was.
Yeah.
And it was much needed. So we do our Survivor episodes when we need a fucking break.
When I almost feel like we're coming close to another.
Yeah. Currently, yes. So, these are crimes that are not any less heinous.
No. Oftentimes, like,
really
extremely heinous because they survived.
Yeah.
Like, and that
because
is
you're like,
something that
today you are living with that.
It's like, yes, this person is walking around alive, and they went through this, like, experience that's just so much. So your case, Sydney.
Yeah, so mine was Sydney. Sydney was attacked at home. She was a teenager. Her parents were out. Mm-hmm. She was attacked, sexually assaulted, and almost murdered at home. She actually was shot trying to escape.
And
through the
jumped
knee.
out the window.
She shot through the knee and wound up later jumping out a second floor window and ran with a bullet hole in her knee.
Talk about adrenaline and how it just like drives you and keeps you going. Sydney was a baller.
Yes.
Mine was Christine, and she was in a domestic abuse relationship. Her boyfriend attacked her with multiple kitchen knives, stabbed her in the skull, and she was able to run out of the home, and the police were there, and she survived. And it just
because her friend called the police. The friend that was there when the attack started.
Well, when like their argument started, and the friend was like, "Nope, bye." And when we first talked about it, it's like, "Wait, where the fuck did the friend go?
What is wrong with you?"
And then it turns out friend went to get help. God. So Christine, freaking baller.
So episode 12, Kids Who Kill.
That was a rough one.
That was a rough one because it is such a juxtaposition of
dogs barking in the background.
The dogs are gonna.
It's gonna happen.
Sorry.
A piece of hair. Oh, I keep looking at the video we're doing, and it's opposite. Whatever.
Let's get back to child murderers.
Oh, sorry.
So this one was rough because it's a very interesting juxtaposition. We've done a lot of cases where children are the victims.
Yes.
And very much focusing on them as having an innocence factor that adults don't. Even though, like, you can have an adult victim is very sad. They can be very innocent. Most people are very much innocent of being murdered, obviously.
Like all of them.
But
even if you're a bad person, you shouldn't be murdered.
Yes. But the innocence that a child has is so much more.
They haven't got to live life yet.
No. But then kind of flipping it and going into kids who kill.
Kids who
which is
perform these heinous acts. Well, in my case was the murder of Maddie Clifton.
Yeah.
And this was when her neighbor, Josh Phillips, so Maddie was 8 years old, Josh was 14, and they were outside playing or something, and Maddie ended up getting hurt. Josh wanted to quiet her. He ended up killing her and hiding her in his mattress for a while, and his mom discovered what had happened. And it just, like, not only is it this crazy situation of kids who kill, but then also parents who have to deal with the fact that their kids did something like that. Their
child is a murderer.
Yeah. Well, and Josh's mom was the one that turned him in.
Yeah.
You know, and it's that moment as a parent where, I mean, God forbid multiple parents have to make this decision, but it's just like the choosing what's right. Like, is what,
is it the self-preservation of your family, which you're
or is it right and wrong
to do, or right and wrong? Yeah.
So that was intense.
Yeah. So mine was the case of Shanna Scherer, who was
this bully galore.
I know. She was, I believe, 12. And, you know, she recently moved to a new town, started a new school. She got a girlfriend. She was brutally murdered by Melinda Lovelace, Lori Tackett, Hope Rippey, and Tony Lawrence, who were 4 friends.
Gang murder, basically.
Yeah, Melinda was the, I guess, leader behind it. Was the person who was kind of like seeing Shanna Scherer was Melinda's ex-girlfriend, and it was torture. It
was.
Was stabbed and beaten in the trunk. It fucking horrifying.
It went on and on and on.
Hours. She was dying, but still alive. Like that. That's up there with Georgia Cruz in my hardest cases.
Yeah. It is. Oh, I absolutely agree. That one, as listening to everything, it was, that's a good comparison, those two.
So the next one, our episode 13, Mommy Issues.
So this one.
It was interesting because it's something that is very specific, but you find in so many of these very big name killers and serial killer cases. So I chose, I did the case of Henry Lee Lucas, who he murdered a fuck ton of people, had a partner, or did he?
No, he totally did.
He did. But he wound up confessing to over 3,000 murders. And obviously he did not commit all of those.
How does someone kill 3,000 people unless it's one huge incident? Like, come
exactly.
On. Come on.
And it's one of those, like, obviously he did not. There's no way that he was physically able to kill that many people in the time frame and everything. But just the mystery behind it of who was a victim of Henry Lee Lucas. And that's never going to be known.
No, it unfortunately will not.
No.
Well, I did Ed Kemper, which is, I'm fascinated with him because when you see the interviews with him when he is already in prison, he's a genius in a super scary way. So Ed Kemper was the co-ed killer. He would pick up college women who were needing to hitchhike. This was in the 70s. Hitchhiking was very prevalent. And he would pick them up, and he worked at the university. No. His mom worked at the university.
Yeah,
so he had a sticker. Pass. He had a parking pass. And so he just automatically seemed very trustworthy. And he was like, oh, sure, I'll get you from A to B. And he would take these women, kill them, cut off their heads.
God.
There was a lot of necrophilia involved. That's just way too detailed for a video. And he buried them facing his mom's window because he had such mommy issues.
It's just so fucked up.
His mom, Clornell, which is still like
really interesting.
The name that I just it's so never heard a name like it. He ended up killing his mom.
Yeah.
And her best friend. And that was like his final.
That's how it ended.
That's how it ended, and he turned himself in. And it was one of those things that, like, because he was friends with law enforcement, and like he was in with the police, and I almost feel as if he had not turned himself in, he may have not been caught. Because he was just that fucking smart.
Yeah.
So.
Whew, gosh.
So episode 14.
Yes.
This one was Public Witnesses to Murder. Mm-hmm. And this is something that, y'all see something, say something.
Yeah, I feel like, I swear, that's like one of our new phrases. And
it is.
Which is see T-shirt. Something, say something.
See something, say something. Us and like all of the everywhere, because
it's true. Phrase. It's a normal phrase, and it's also something you should absolutely do.
Yes. The case I did was Priyanka Kumari, who her boyfriend attacked her with a machete in like broad daylight. Thankfully she survived.
See, this one, because I think this was one of the first ones that you pulled a twist where she didn't die.
She didn't die, but I didn't reveal that till the end.
Expecting the whole time that
machete.
It's a machete, and it went on for like what, 9 minutes, something like that. Like it went on for a long time, and just the brutality of it. I'm like, of course she's dead.
Well, and this was
like, why does it go on that long? Because she should have died so much quicker. Like,
right.
She survived.
Well, and this was the one where all the neighbors are seeing this happen because it's like 3:30ish, and they're all just freaking out. And that's the one I played the 911 calls, and it's a lot. It is a lot.
It is. So my case in this episode was Kitty Genovese,
which is the classic Public Witnesses case.
Yes, the case example that people use when they talk about bystander syndrome, which I think is the right word, and because she was murdered right outside of her apartment after being followed and stalked, and people were there. People saw it happening, and people didn't do anything. Although the tales of, she died there in a crowd and no one did anything is very much exaggerated. She did, one of her neighbors did go out there, and she did wind up like dying in their arms. Yeah. But fuck. Yeah.
Oh, it was intense.
Yeah. Not as intense as the next episode.
Literally what I was about to say. So 15, torture.
Torture. So
one of our most difficult episodes to record. One of the hardest.
Yeah. So the case I did was that of Matthew Shepard. Yeah. And I think for me, and I think for you, this is the closest I've ever come to just like breaking out, crawling, bawling during an episode.
That was the one we had to pause and take a break.
We did.
Like we had
to take
recording in the middle
a 30-minute break just to
decompress before I got into my fucked up case.
Yeah. So if you notice when listening to that episode that you're like, whoa, they went from like about to break to like, okay, that's why.
Well, I'm pretty sure we say in the episode like, hey, sorry, we took a break, because it was so obvious.
Yeah, that was one of the... Because in ways, I think we relate to all of our cases. That one was too close to home.
Too close to home.
Yeah.
Too close to home. So that was the episode where I did BTK.
Mm-hmm.
Dennis Rader.
I guess, I don't know, I should go into detail on Matthew Shepard, not just like
how
our
hard
reaction.
It was. Oh,
so, because he was a gay man who was tortured to death for hours and hours. And left to die because he was gay. Like, that's it, in fucking nasty ass Wyoming. Sorry if you're from Wyoming, but not really.
No, I did BTK.
Yeah.
Dennis Rader. He was, BTK, bind, torture, kill. He killed 10 women. And he was someone who, as unfortunately a lot of these serial killers are, like very respected in the community, had, a life there. And he was a security man, for home security, which is how he was able to easily break into people's homes, do the blueprint. He would hide in their closets and then pop out and do his acts. And it just... And what's crazy about him is he was active in the 70s.
Yeah.
And then he went dark until the early 2000s.
Which, that's horrifying. Because he was the one who was in, Kansas, right?
Yeah, it was in Kansas.
Which, that shit is horrifying. Yeah. I don't know why, but for some reason I always think about these like murders and serial killers like being on the coasts. Maybe because a weird amount are in Washington, California, and New York and Florida.
The Pacific Northwest, like, yeah. But so he ended up getting caught because of his own stupidity, thank God. You know, he gave some information on a flash drive, or no, excuse me, a floppy disk, because this was early 2000s, to the police, and the police told him that, like, oh no, we can't trace it. They could absolutely freaking trace it.
Damn
and they did, and they captured him, and like, God, but that's one of those cases that it's as if it's along the levels of if we could capture Zodiac today. You know, a killer that was active so long ago, and they became active again, and then they were captured. And not that I'm saying Zodiac would become active again, because, like, please no.
Probably dead.
He's probably dead. But when was Zodiac? It was
70s.
Really? That one too? Oh, the 70s.
Fucking the terrifying. 70s, y'all.
Terrifying. 70s.
Don't be alive during the 70s. Can't do anything about it now if you were.
If you were.
And if you weren't.
Congratulations. You survived the 70s. You survived the 70s.
That's fair. So the next one, killers inspired by villains. So this was a topic that you really wanted to do. I was confused because there was one obvious one that came to my mind that wound up being the case that Brittany did.
That's what I did, yeah.
And other than that, because the idea behind it, I was like, yes, killers that, you know, saw this fiction movie or television or video game, and because you hear that argument so often that pop culture is to blame for so many of these murderers and stuff.
We couldn't find it.
Yeah, trying to find these, y'all. Not easy. No, because you have
I'm
cases
glad to report that. I'm so happy to tell you that we couldn't find a lot that supported the fact that all of these villains in, like, our superhero and, like, the movies and stuff we watch are not necessarily influencing people to kill.
Most of the ones that I found that people tried to make a link between, they'd be like, oh, this dude shot this guy in a robbery and he had a copy of Call of Duty. And it's like, yeah, that's not really... okay. I mean, did he also have Fox and he could have watched an episode of Cops? I mean, like...
Oh, yeah.
So, okay. But, yeah. So your case.
I picked James Holmes when it was the 2012 Aurora shootings in Colorado. And he was heavily influenced by the Joker. Mm-hmm. And just that super anarchy mentality.
Yeah.
And yes, I remember this as well. I have one of my best friends lives in Colorado, and I just remember being so scared. And unfortunately, there have been multiple times that something like this has happened, and I text her and I'm like, where are you? You're not near that, right?
Yeah.
You good? Okay. Because it just hit so close to home. But this one was crazy. There were so many victims. It was during a screening of The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
Which was the Batman movie where Heath Ledger was the Joker. Yeah.
Oof.
It was heavy.
Yeah, it was. My case was the Slenderman stabbings. Slender Man stabbings. So, you'll probably notice this.
I say it like it's last name.
I know. I'm like Slenderman. Like, yes, hello, Mark Slenderman.
So, every time you do that, I think of the scene in Friends when Chandler and Phoebe are talking about Goldman. Like, they're going to create a superhero, and it's Goldman. And Phoebe keeps saying, like, Goldman. And Chandler's like, no. It's not a last name. He's a gold man. You don't talk about Phil Spiderman. And it makes me think of you every time. It's so good.
Okay.
Stop. No, stop.
No, I get it.
That's perfect.
Anyways, the Slender Man stabbings where Anissa and Morgan murdered... I believe Anissa's friend. Anissa. It was Anissa, not Anissa.
Yeah. So, do you know how many times we had to cut out Anissa because...
Yeah, might be. Sorry. So, Anissa and Morgan murdered Bella, who was Anissa's friend, to please Slenderman. And this was one episode
that's like
that while editing...
creepypasta, like crazy.
Yeah. So
like Slenderman... Like, oh, you made me do it! Slenderman.
So while editing
Oh.
this one, we realized I didn't do a great job at making the connection to Slender Man. But the
No.
entire reason that they murdered Bella was because they wanted to please Slender Man. And it
Yeah.
was also children murdering children because apparently this was during the phase where I had like
All
8
of it
cases in
was
a row and everything was
child.
super fucked up.
You're like, these are all kids. What am I doing with my life?
Yeah, might be.
Well, episode 17.
Sun, Sand, and Slaughter.
This was right before I was getting ready to go to the Bahamas, so we wanted
Yes,
to
it was.
kind of like hint to that. / Tyler wanted to terrify me.
Sorry.
Maybe I picked this topic. I don't even know.
I'm pretty well. Just judging by the above case, I'm pretty sure Aurora would have won. So I'm pretty sure I probably picked Vacation Murders and
Yeah, I
Sun,
think
Sand,
you
and
did.
Slaughter.
Think
This
you
also when and we're y'all. We will always have, when we have the opportunity, have creative titles because we are creative souls.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. We try. We try. So, your case.
Yeah, David Miller and Hannah Withridge they were two young adults, older teenagers. I think they were 19 or 20.
Mm-hmm.
They were vacationing in Thailand. Hannah, they didn't know each other. They met there. I think they were staying at the same hotel or hostel, and they became friends. They traveled together and were found dead.
Mm-hmm.
And the two men that were like immediately like, oh, it's them. They fucking murdered them.
Yep.
Throw them in jail, death penalty. It had all of these like racial biases behind it, and they weren't given interpreters. They weren't given proper counsel, and it's so widely believed elsewhere. Please don't touch the mic.
No, I'm sorry. You distracted me because I saw the sock.
Yes. But anyway, the real murderers are probably still out there and got away, and these two innocent people are set to die for crimes that for a ton of reasons are just it points to not guilty.
No. Yeah.
So, yeah.
I like all the reasons. That was a really, really crazy case. Yeah. And I did the murder of Monica Beresford Redmond. Many believe, and the way it is, stated by the jury and everything, is that she was murdered by her husband, Bruce, who was the producer of Survivor and Pit My Ride. And they were staying together at a resort in Cancun. They were on a family vacation. They'd been having a rough marriage. Thought maybe vacation would be good. He was quickly a suspect. She was found in like a sewage container or something that was there at the resort. God. And in 2015, he was sentenced to 12 years. And again, this is in Mexico. So I'm like, 12 years? That doesn't seem very long at all.
Yeah.
Which is one thing I've noticed in a lot of the cases that we do, that America seems to have the most intense sentences for criminals.
Maybe not the most intense, but as far as like the Western world is considered, very, very long. And it's interesting because we both grew up in the United States, so the idea of like, oh, a murderer getting life in prison, like, yeah.
No, that makes sense.
And for that to not be the case most elsewhere is very interesting because
it really is.
I mean, y'all listen to the podcast. Y'all very much know my views on the situation and my strong opinion towards rehabilitation as opposed to punishment. But it's just very interesting to see like a 12-year sentence because shit, in America, you can get a 12-year sentence for having weed in your pocket in some places.
You can get life for having weed in your pocket.
Which
some places.
Is a just...
No, we're not going there.
No, we won't.
So, episode 18
was
one of
this episode. Honestly,
very difficult episodes. This is Murder Next Door.
Yeah. This episode was fucking hard.
It was really hard.
It
was.
Mm, we both picked cases. We both picked cases. Sorry, cases. We both picked cases that geographically were close to home. They were both Oklahoma cases.
They were.
And
they were.
Yeah, just go into yours because
yeah. So mine was the murder of Jamie Rose Boland, and this one happened in Purcell, Oklahoma, where Jamie lived with her family at an apartment complex, and her neighbor Kevin Underwood lured her into his home for sexual gratification and also to kill her. He wanted to kill 10? Her. She was like 10 or 12. God. She was very young. And he ends up attempting to decapitate her in his bathroom, and he can't get through it. He ends up shoving her in the plastic container and like putting her in his closet, and he quickly gets caught. But it's so dark because I was in college and in Norman during this time when this was happening.
10 minutes away.
It's like 10 minutes away. It's right there. Sorry guys, my itches. I had a coworker who lived in Purcell, and so she would come to work and like we'd talk about it, and it's like this daily updates is what's going on, and it hit so close to home.
Yeah,
it was very much the murder next door.
Yeah. My case was the murder of Khalid Jabara, which this one, the racism in this case is so intertwined with it.
Yeah.
And because Khalid, his mother, they were immigrants from the Middle East. I apologize, don't remember which country. But their neighbor was just this racist fucking monster. He had run over Khalid's mother a little bit earlier, like run her down with his car trying to kill her. Thankfully, she did survive.
She did.
Khalid was her adult son, and he was shot outside the home by this guy who is just this racist piece of shit.
Yep. And
it was the impact it had on this family. This was also one that had, in a lot of my research, it had so many interviews with the family, and that was so hard to watch. And to see both.
You watched them?
Yeah.
Videos? Oh my god.
Well, and just to see how much it both broke this family, and also how much this family is still together fighting. It just, it was hard. That one, God.
And after that, we were ready for another Survivor episode.
Yes, I'm a Survivor.
So, episode 19, I'm a Survivor.
So, if y'all haven't caught on by now, all of our Survivor episodes are named after songs with Survivor.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's what I was going.
I thought you were about to say all of our Survivor episodes are still really, really difficult.
Oh, no, that's also true. That's absolutely true.
Is your case in this one?
Yeah, Shauna and Brad.
Oh my
so
God.
this
Shauna
one was probably one of the most...
Brad the rock star.
Brad the amazing rock star. This case may have been one of the most just like, what? Like, if this were a movie, I would be like... wow, this is so fake. This would never happen.
This could so be a movie.
And because Shauna and Brad... Charlie's coughing.
Yeah.
And I'm going to speak through it because that's what I do.
You okay, babe? He's down fine. At our feet right now. He likes to be a part of the video.
He wishes he was famous like we are. No. So Shauna's ex-boyfriend busted up into their house while she is in the shower.
You okay?
While she's in the shower, he busts up in, murders, shoots at her roommates. Brad fights with this guy to try to save Shauna and try to be a hero. Gets shot in the head. And has to plug his own bullet wound with his hand. This guy then goes to murder Shauna. He shoots Shauna through the eye. Also, he sets the house on fire. House is on fire.
House is aflame
and
this
then
entire time.
Shoots himself, falls on top of Shauna. Shauna has to throw him off. Bullet hole through the face. Also, other bullet wounds. get out of the laundry room, find Brad. They escape the house while it's burning. And that was Charlie sniffing the microphone.
Sorry.
And just fucking insane.
Yes, and the case I did was Michelle. So she was attacked by a group of men in her own driveway. And they dragged her to her backyard, threw her in the trunk of her own car.
God, this case. And I hated this case.
I hated it so much, but, she survived and she brought a lot of justice to the community. Turns out that this group of men had been doing this to a lot of women, like kidnapping, raping, and, it was really hard, but a lot of good things came to her community because of it.
Mm-hmm.
So
episode 20. Last episode.
Last one for part 2.
And one of my favorite episodes, and one that...
Yes, we just got done doing one. We'll tell you guys. Yeah. So, January 22nd, we're doing Killer Females. No, Killer Women.
Killer Women. So the episode 20 ties a little bit into it.
It does.
So female serial killers. This was one of my favorite episodes, and I think one of the most popular episodes we've done.
I think so. Because female serial killers, you don't think about that.
No, you don't. When you think serial killer, you think men.
You do. When you think of most murderers, you think of men.
It's true.
But, so for mine, I did Leonarda Cinciulli. And she was...
Cookie bitch.
She was the one that would kill women and turn them into soap and cakes. And then feed it to the community or sell it to the community. And a lot of it was to protect her son. She ended up being convicted and... Yeah, pretty crazy.
Nasty. So my case was La Mata Viejitas, which was the Mexican serial killer. She lived in Mexico City or just in the outskirts of. Mm-hmm. She was a pro wrestler, which is like the the interesting, she's also a masked luchadora or something. She murdered old women in Mexico City, or elderly women in Mexico City. She killed between 42 and 48 elderly women, which
so many.
It's also, granted, we both picked female serial killers outside of the United States, but
we did.
This was one of the things that, the idea of this kind of serial killer doesn't, is a very American thing.
It is. It's super American.
And so, it sent the country of Mexico into a panic when La Mata Viejitas was around. And, she murdered a bunch of helpless elderly women because she sucked.
Yeah. So.
But okay. So, there you go. There was episodes 11 through 20.
That's part 2.
And there's our take on them.
Yeah. What a crazy set of episodes.
I feel like episodes 11 through 20, that was where we really, really started to find our footing.
I think so.
I think that's where some of our most interesting episodes have come from. Although, y'all, some of the episodes...
20s and 30s?
20s and 30s are insane. And some of the episodes that we have upcoming...
Yes.
Y'all.
Yes.
So...
All right.
Thank y'all so much. Get ready for part 3 that's coming out at a later date. Not tonight.
Not tonight. We're not doing part 3 now.
Nope.
But look forward to part 3.
Yes.
And XOXO.
Blood and Wine signing off.
Bye.
Bye.